All right, welcome back. Now, the question of decisions taken at the 54th conference of the African National Congress, particularly the one about the changing of the mandate of the South African Reserve Bank, have dominated public discourse in recent days. Firoz Chachalia is an Ahmed Kathrada Foundation director and professor at the Wits School of Law. He's also a long-standing member of the African National Congress. Yesterday, he penned a piece titled "Constitution is South Africa's Supreme Law," reminding the party that its party constitution cannot contradict that of the country. He raises other points that he's here to chat to us about. Welcome and thanks for taking the time to come through this morning. You started off your piece by reminding the ANC about advice from the ANC former President Ahmed Kathrada, where he says that the constitution of the ANC should be consistent with the country constitution. Why did you feel the need to do that?
By the way, I also sit on Comrade Kgalema's foundation. Well, recently Derek Hanekom and others, as parliamentarians, were threatened with expulsion from the ANC on the basis that they had collaborated or colluded with other opposition political parties to support a motion of no confidence in the former president. Now, I made a very careful study of recent court decisions of the Constitutional Court, and it's very clear to me that responding to the problems of political corruption and state capture, as well as the lack of accountability of public representatives, the court has made it very clear that when individual parliamentarians act on the basis of their conscience to promote accountability, they are acting under the protection of the Constitution, protection of the law. So those three decisions, the UDM decision and the two EFF decisions, have fundamentally changed the environment for political parties. And all political parties today, when they seek to discipline members, are going to have to take account of the constitutional framework. They can no longer act in accordance with their understanding of what is required of an individual member by their own constitution. The constitution is supreme.
So you're saying the constitution allows Derek Hanekom to, as you say in your article, act as a matter of conscience as well as as a matter of conscience as well as by political morality?
Exactly.
That's difficult to measure though, isn't it?
Well, the Constitutional Court has established a constitutional right of individual representatives to act independently of their parties. Now let's just think about this for a moment. It must be very clear that that was always the case. We have mechanisms in our Constitution, like the vote of no confidence and impeachment proceedings, which specifically anticipate that new majorities might emerge in the course of debate and political contestation in Parliament. Let's take the situation, for instance, in the United Kingdom at the moment. You see very clearly members of different parties, Labour Party, Conservative Party, taking different positions on Brexit, taking positions which are contrary to the positions of their own political parties. So it's very clear to me that the Constitution specifically anticipates such behavior. It protects such behavior in order to promote accountability. But I also want to make it clear, Desiree, that party discipline is very important. We need disciplined political parties, but I think the courts have now intervened to create a legal framework which places some restrictions on the circumstances in which party whips can act against individual members. And so this is one of them.
Juxtapose that protected constitutional position against the NEC decision that was taken about a week ago, where they say they want to investigate him.
I'm saying that if I'm correct, and I think I I am correct because I've made a careful study of these court decisions, they're wasting their time because Derek Hanekom...
So he has recourse.
He has recourse. Other members have recourse, and I think in the future, not only members of the ANC, but of all political parties who are elected members of parliament, not only members of their parties, will be similarly protected by the Constitution. You're
bringing to the fore your legal expertise, but take those aside and let's bring in Firoz, the ANC member, and speaking from a moral point of view, as you say.
Yes.
Do you think what Derek Hanekom did was correct?
Yes. Let's be very clear. Party discipline exists, very importantly, to ensure party unity in the execution of party mandates, the implementation of party resolutions, and so forth. Party discipline isn't there to prevent Parliament from acting against unethical, corrupt behavior. And I believe very clearly that the Nkandla report of the Public Protector, as well as the State Capture report, demonstrated emphatically that we have a deepening problem of political corruption in this country, and in those circumstances it's very important that individual representatives take their mandate directly from the people and not from a party that in those circumstances was really defending unethical behavior. To remind listeners what happened when the Public Protector published her Cold Comfort report, instead of implementing that report, what did the President do? He refused to accept the outcomes, but he didn't challenge those outcomes in court, and instead created a parallel process. The National Assembly then passed a resolution absolving the President of all responsibility for the misspending of public funds. Okay? For 2 years, the Parliament failed to ensure accountability.
Yeah.
That's when the Constitutional Court stepped in and said, if you, the party, and if you, the National Assembly, which is there to represent the people of this country, and to act responsibly in your role as custodians of public resources, we are going to intervene to ensure that, for instance, that the emotion of no confidence should be held in secret to prevent the party from coercing members into acting contrary to their own consciences and contrary to their mandate.
I'm told to wrap up, so unfortunately we have to end it here, but a quick one. You're also one of those people who could be easily considered a party elder. You've been in leadership in the party, you've been in leadership in government as well. What are your thoughts about the current political discourse, what's happening between the President and the Public Protector, those emails that have been apparently leaked over the weekend that reflect a kind of a sense of dishonesty coming from the President?
Well, I think that the President has to come clean on that matter. One thing is very clear that we need to learn from this most recent saga. We have to ensure that all forms of funding of politics, of parties, of candidates, national elections as well as internal party contests are transparent, because the road to the erosion of our democracy is through this problem of lack of transparency in funding. People fund political parties to seek influence, and from my point of view, selling votes is no different from selling access. So for me, the main challenge, or one of the main challenges that we face today, if we're going to restore integrity in our politics and we're going to restore trust of our people in our democratic institutions, is to ensure that the people are in charge of the democratic process, not business interests who are seeking through the back door, as it were, to achieve improper influence over our representatives.
We thank you very much for your thoughts this
Thank
morning,
you.
Professor Firoz Chachalia, giving us his thoughts about constitutionalism and how the ANC should be interacting with the Constitution. Blaine?